What's going on, everybody? Welcome to part 4 of our Doors album review series. I got two bigger Doors fans than I am, Nick and Scott, joining me once again. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm
Good.
doing wonderful. Mets win their home opener.
So we're talking about the Soft Parade from 1969, and we'll get into the
Background information.
All right, so this album was recorded following this very grueling tour that they had. They didn't really have much material to work with. They didn't have much time. So they were having a little bit of an album crunch. And so their producer gave them the idea, how about you add some brass and stringed instruments to your music while you keep on experimenting? They're like, oh, I guess we'll do that. But there were some other personal issues going on around this time as well, particularly with Jim Morrison. The drugs are really starting to get to him. His behaviors got more erratic at this time. And he wants to leave the Doors so he can focus on his poetry. But the rest of the members convince him to stay on because, hey, he's Jim Morrison. He's the voice of the Doors. When he goes, we're screwed. So you got to have him on there. So then you have one other problem. Jim Morrison's written a good majority of these songs on the first 3 albums. He doesn't want to write as much as he used to. Enter Robbie Krieger, the guitarist. He's like, you know what? I think I'm going to write some more songs on this album and see how these go. And sure enough, Robbie has more songwriting credits on this album than Jim Morrison. And I think that does help the album in the long run, and we'll get to that when we get there. So this album came out, peaked at number 6 on the Billboard 200. It spawned 4 singles. Only one of them is a major hit that you still hear on the radio today. That's Touch Me. This album was panned by critics when it first came out. A lot of people did not like this album. They loved the first few albums because of how psychedelic and experimental they were. But many critics, when this album came out, thought this was a sellout album. Like, oh no, why is the Doors doing a more poppy album with horns and stuff? Doesn't really make sense to me because I think this sound is no different from what was on their other albums. I don't really get that. But the critics didn't like it. It was very divisive when it first came out, but there's more of an appreciation for this album in more recent years. So, with that said, what are your guys' thoughts on the Soft Parade?
I'm a huge fan of this album. I made it clear that I thought Waiting for the Sun was in my top 2 albums of theirs. This is also my top 2 of their albums. I feel like these 2 are their most underrated albums because they're not as psychedelic as the first 2 albums are. And these are like the 2 albums I always latch on to because, you know, they're I wouldn't say pretentious, but like there's not as much artsiness to it as like their first 2 albums are. So I feel like it's a lot more, I could adapt to these 2 albums more. And to me, there's just so many awesome beat cuts on these albums that are really fun to go through. And I'm very looking forward to talking about this one.
This is the most overhated of the Doors albums. When I first listened to this, I like, oh wow, this is a pretty good Doors album. I like it more than the first 2 that I've heard. And then someone, I forget who told me, I think it was Nick, said like people say this is the worst Jim Morrison Doors album, and I was just thinking, what? Like, This is one of my favorite ones. I think I know why it is. It's because they try something different, and people aren't very adept to change. And so when the Doors do something different, they're like, no, it's different. We don't want that. And you know what? Whatever the people backlash this album, their next album, Morrison Hotel, seems very by the numbers and more. It's a much more safe album, And so I don't like that one as much. Little spoiler for Morrison Hotel, but I like this one because it feels like they're trying to do something different. And I guess I like them playing around with these different sounds, playing with string sections and horn sections, and just kind of trying different stuff out, doing all kinds of different stuff on this album. I really like that about it.
All right, so I was really surprised when I learned that this album was not well liked because the 2 times I've listened to this album, I'm like, really? This is the album people hate from the Doors? I'll say right off the bat, this is their least pretentious album. I actually really like the album for that. There's one song you could argue whether it's pretentious or not. We'll get there when we get there. But I actually do love the brass instruments that are present throughout this entire album. The production on this album is top notch. There's actually some really good songwriting on this album. I mentioned that Krieger wrote more songs on this album than Jim Morrison, and he was kind of the secret sauce on this album because he had some really good contributions to this album when Jim Morrison was lagging a little bit. And I can't say, well, you'll find out where this is on my Doors ranking so far, but this is a really good Doors album. I really liked it. Let's go into the track listing, starting with our first track, our album opener, Tell All the People.
Tell All the People. So we start off on a kind of like it's like a protest song, but it sounds very monumentous, like bum, ba 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 bum bum, ba 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 bum bum, da 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 da. I remember when I first heard this, I'm like, whoa, was not expecting that from the Doors, and I really like it. It's I forgot. I think it's Robbie Krieger who wrote this one, and this is an awesome song. I love lyrically. It's a great song, and it's an earworm. Tell all the people that you see, follow me down. Tell all the people what you see, set them free, follow me down. It's just it's like monumentous and fun. It's like great earworm, and I love the horns on this one. This is, I'm gonna say it, I think this is their best album opener so far, I should say. No, I'm not gonna say it's their best album opener. There's one more that I think happens to match that thinks it's better. I think it's better than this one, but we haven't gone to that. We haven't gone to that album. We haven't gone to that one yet, but we'll get to it.
I hope it's what I'm thinking it is. But for Tell All the People, yeah, you start this and you're like, this is completely different than what I've heard for the other Doors albums. It's like, what is this, a brass section? But you know what? I love it for that. I will say, if you go to the deluxe edition of this album on streaming, you can find versions of the songs that have taken out all of the extra instrumentation and hear what it would have sounded like had it have been just the band. And they sound very empty. Like, I didn't listen to this one, but I listened to the underdubbed version, if you will, of Touch Me, Wishful Sinful, and Running Blue, and I just kept thinking, wow, these sound so empty. Like, the extra instrumentation is kind of what makes these songs on this album. And you can tell which songs that Robbie Krieger wrote for this album because he's the one who's going all in on this big, lavish production. Every time you hear a song that's got all the horns and the strings and stuff, it's one of his songs. And honestly, I kind of like his writing style better than Morrison's. I feel like Morrison is a great vocalist, but his songs can sometimes be a little too artistic. Like, I like some of his stuff. Like, we'll get to one of the songs he wrote on this album that I think is really good. But for the most part, I actually like Robbie Krieger's writing style better. I even think, didn't he write Light My Fire, Robbie Krieger? Yeah, Robbie Krieger seems to be the one who writes the more traditional sounding songs, and then Morrison writes the more out there stuff. And I've said this before, but I'm more drawn to the Doors, more, traditional sounding stuff. You can call me a commercialist or whatever, but when
Don't!
when the Doors do pop music, they do it extremely well, and I love that about this song. The horns at the beginning, and Jim Morrison's voice works so well for this song. People have said that Jim Morrison is like the crooner of rock music, that he's like rock's Frank Sinatra. And on the other albums, you can't really tell that very much, except for maybe on We Could Be So Good Together from the last album. But this is the album where you can really hear that. You get this song, and it's just like, tell all the people that you see, follow me down. And it's just like a very powerful song, very triumphant sounding with those horns. And it's just a good stage setter for what's to come on this album, for what you're about to hear for the rest of the album. You're like, oh, this is different. Let's see where they're going with this one.
All right. Yeah, this is a great way to open the album. I love the brass on it. It's just like so in your face, and it sets the tone for this whole album so well. I will kind of spoil my thoughts on the album going forward. 4 out of the 5 Robbie Krieger written songs on this album are in my top 5. So maybe I like the quote unquote sellout period of the Doors better than the weirder Jim Morrison stuff. So yeah, this is a great way to open the album. I love the way Morrison sings it, sells the vocals. This is a fun track and a great discovery in listening to the Doors, because prior to this, there was only one song that I knew from this album, and that one song is the big hit that's next. Which, speaking of, "Touch Me."
This is another fantastic song. Yeah, normally I'm more into their more deeper cuts, but this is definitely an exception to that, because it's such again, the horns really make it stand out. Robbie Krieger getting MVP on the writing. But yeah, I love the build up. Come on, now touch me, babe. Can you see that I am not afraid? What was that promise that you made? My favorite part of the song, well, the parts of the song is like when it gets slower, it's like bum 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 to the very bum bum bum. So good. And yeah, I mean, in terms of like it's like these first 2 songs are so on Doors like, but like it makes for a really good 1-2 punch on the album. I really like this song.
This song has one of the coolest intros ever, with that keyboard at the beginning. It's like, and then you got John Densmore in the background just like killing the drums, and then Jim just goes like, yeah, and it's just building up, and then it gets to the part where the song starts. It's like, touch me, babe, and the horn section. Oh, the horn section is so good. It's like, I'm not afraid. What was that promise that you made? Why don't you tell me what she said? That it just gets stuck in your head. It's such a good melody, and I love how like there's 2 different sections to the song. There's the more the come on now touch me baby section, and then there's the second section where it gets slower and the strings get to come in, and when he does I'm gonna love you until the heavens start to rain, and then the strings come in. Oh, that sounds so good when the strings come in there. It's like the stars fall from the sky for you and I, and the horns come back and bow, 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 and out, down, and down. This is one of the only songs I can say that you can hear a rock vocalist or a jazz vocalist do. I can hear Frank Sinatra doing a cover of this song, honestly speaking. And then I love the jam at the end, because they do that twice, and then John Densmore's just starting to just pound the drums, and they're just jamming, and then the saxophone comes in, and it's just like, whoa! It's like, and the saxophone starts playing, and you're just like, you're jamming along, yeah, and right whenever you're just grooving, they just end it with an Ajax laundry detergent commercial. There was a commercial that Jim Morrison thought was funny that goes like, Ajax laundry cleaner is stronger than dirt, and they worked that into the song. I think that's funny how that's just the very end of the song. But this is in my top 5 Doors songs, not just top 5 on this album, but like top 5 favorite Doors songs. Period. It's amazing, and I just love how it's a rock song at heart, but it has some like crooner tendencies, and I think that's what's so cool about it. Kind of like a multi-genre song.
Yeah, somebody tells me multi-genre song is going to be the running theme throughout this album.
Yes, I can think of at least 2 other songs that are like that.
Yeah, but yeah, this is the big hit on this album for a reason. This is one I've heard quite a few times over the years, and yeah, it's a great song for a reason. The production on this song really stands out. You got that great keyboard. You got the brass that kicks in. You got Jim Morrison's vocals. That I like the way you said, Scott, where it's like that mix of, you hear his rock vocalist, and yet he sings so smooth that he could have been a jazz vocalist if he wanted to. I love the faster sections, the slower sections. I'm surprised, Nick, you didn't bring this up. When he sings the slow part the second time, I'm gonna love you. There's this one part where it has more of a Baroque sound near the end of it. And
Yeah.
for some reason, I never picked up on that until I listened to the album again. I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be one of Nick's favorite songs on the album.
That's not entirely Baroque, but I do really like that part of the song. I do forget.
There is a section where it has like this, it has almost like this harp sound to it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
about. As they sing it, I'm like, yeah, I never picked up on that until now. That's pretty cool. Then that sax solo at the end is awesome. This is another great Doors song, a great doubleheader on the first 2 songs on the album. Both of these songs are in my top 3. They're that good.
That was the worst part of the underdub version of this song, is that whenever there's supposed to be the sax solo, there's just nothing. It's just like drums and bass and keyboard, and it's like, oh, come on, I want that sax solo. I can almost hear it in my head.
Yeah, I can't imagine either of these songs without the horns, because that's what makes the songs pop.
Yeah, no, the underdub version of this song was the worst. I'm like, where's the horn? I am not afraid. Oh, man, I'll have to do it myself. Ba-ba-ba-ba.
Well, before we move to the next song, we got a couple comments from 3D Jake, Nick's brother from another mother.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Says, to quote Independence Day, "Hello, boys, I'm back. How are you guys?"
Doing good.
Yeah, doing good. And then he has another comment. I love the Doors. Use them every day.
Of course.
And then he makes a dedication to Val Kilmer, who played Jim Morrison in the Doors biopic from the 90s. Has anyone seen that movie?
I have not, because Robbie Krieger, the guitar player, says it's extremely inaccurate. It was either Krieger or Manzarek said it's extremely inaccurate, and that it's just Oliver Stone putting his own personality onto Jim Morrison, and that if Jim Morrison actually acted like he did in that movie, he wouldn't have been friends with him.
It was Manzarek. Yeah, it was Manzarek who said that, because Manzarek was really good friends with him in college, and he said that like Jim Morrison was like really nice, you know, like of course when he's drunk and high he acts like a jerk, but he said when he was sober he was really nice and really like anti-social pretty much. So he said the
Yeah,
Jim Morrison in that movie is a lot different than the Jim Morrison he knew and loved.
yeah, I can't vouch for the movie because I've never seen it. I know that's one of Val Kilmer's most acclaimed performances, and I know he went all method on that. So
I do know his audition tape for that movie was he did a cover of some Doors songs, and then they played his covers along with some of the originals, and people couldn't tell which were the covers and which were the originals.
So he went all out with that. So I guess, gotta give credit where credit is due. But whether that makes for a good movie, I guess that's up to the Doors fans. All right, now we'll go to our next song. This is the first one written by Jim Morrison. Speaking of, this is the Shaman's Blues.
Oh my gosh, I really like this one. It's like them kind of. This is like it's like definitely the bluesiest song on the album, but this is one of my favorites on the album. It's funny because you're gonna hear me talk so good about them doing the blues on this song, and then you're gonna hear me talk not so good about their bluesiness in the next album.
That's all it is. That's all there is the next album. It's all bluesy stuff.
And like, it's not even like this is like what I love about it is that like it's like jammy, but like there's a lot of it's like experimental blues, if that makes any sense. Like you got the keyboards, you have a lot going into this. The next album is just straight up blues. This is like you got blues, but like it's a little more. It kind of like trying to think of the album right now, but it's kind of like Then Play On by Fleetwood Mac.
Oh yeah, that's a good
That's what this
comparison.
reminds me of. It reminds me of Then Play On by Fleetwood Mac, and this is the blues I like. I really like is when it's like blues, but like not like straight up blues. I mean, I can like straight up blues, but not as a full album. But this to me is a huge highlight because it blends the nice, cool experimentalness of the Doors mixed with their mixed with blues. And I wish they would have. If this is what their next album sounded like, it would have been one of my favorite Doors albums. But you'll see my review on the next album when we get to it.
Played it a little safe with the next one. Yeah, this is really cool. I love the riff on here that like the or like whatever he sings like there's nothing something with you. I like the loose improvisational feel of some of this song where it's just them jamming. Robbie Krieger has a pretty good guitar solo on here. The only thing I'm not a big fan of is there's a weird spoken word thing at the end that I'm like, it doesn't work for this song. Like, I was jamming along to it thinking this is pretty good, and it's like, no, Jim, don't read your poetry in the middle of this song. I want to hear the guys jam some more. But yeah, no, I thought this was pretty good. Definitely something to vibe to. This song is a vibe.
Yeah, this is the only one of Jim Morrison's written song that's in my top 5. This is another. This is probably the bluesiest song on the album, and that's what makes it so fun. I love it when the Doors go for that blues sound. It works very well on this song. There's some cool little instruments that help experiment with the blues. There's some cool keyboards on there that make for this really cool riff. I do think lyrically this song is very nonsensical, but I don't go to this song for the lyrics. I go for the production and the bluesiness of it. And it's definitely a vibe, that's for sure. And it's one of the more memorable ones on this album. Now we go to our next song on the album. And to quote a very famous evil Sith Lord in one of my favorite Star Wars movies, it's time to do it.
I enjoyed
Happy
it.
20th anniversary.
I enjoyed this one. If you have the volume too low, you won't hear it. But in the very beginning of the track, you can hear Ray Manzarek go Kind of like I mean, this is like the precursor to like John Bonham with the I forgot what he did on
We got 4 already, and now we're steady.
yeah,
That's how they went.
he did
One,
that. I love it
two,
when he does it
three.
in the ocean, and I really like it when me and Derek did Hero. I don't know. I just funny to me. This is kind of like one of those songs where I could see why people wouldn't like it because it's a little more on the repetitive side, but it's the repetitive that I like, where it's like it's just one of those songs where I just vibe to it. It's not in my top 5 because again, it's more on the repetitive side, but it's cool. Please listen to the children. Please listen to the children. It's like again, it's something like special. Like this wouldn't be like the best door song in the world, but to like casuals. But this is like one of those songs where like if you didn't like it, I won't judge you for it. But this is one of my more guilty pleasure door songs.
This is one of the most fun songs on the album. I love the jam, especially the bass on here. I know that they didn't have like a full-time bass player, but whoever's doing the bass on here is really good. And I like the please listen to the children. The song seems like it's not very lyrically deep, but it's a lot deeper than you think. I think he's kind of saying like don't ignore the children because they're like eventually going to grow up and be adults, and like the world will be in their hands eventually and we'll both be dead or whatever. It's like don't ignore the kids or whatever, like they'll be an adult one day. I think that's kind of what this means. But it would be near the bottom of songs on this album if I was to rank them all, but I still actually really like it, and I love the jam on here.
All right, I think I'm going to break the bubble. I didn't care for this one. And I think, Nick, you're right on the money as to why I didn't care for it. The repetitiveness in this song I thought was so annoying. Please, children. Please, children. I just felt like I was hearing a broken record. And when you hear that same line, like, it seemed like 30 times on this song, it's like, sing something else. Sing something else. I will say this, it's better than the 6-minute equivalent that John Lennon did on his Imagine album. If you guys have heard I Don't Want to Be a Soldier, Mama, I Don't Want to Die, that song is 10 times worse, and it's a lot slower. But this song, at least it's short, I will give it that, but I still found it annoying, and this is my second to least favorite song on this album. Now we finish up side 1 with Easy Ride.
Yeah, I knew you weren't going to care for the last one. I was like, but this one, this is definitely an oddball in their discography, like a big oddball. Like this is like straight up pop music. Like it's interesting. This is a very interesting song in their discography. Like it doesn't sound like anything that they did before this, and it doesn't sound like anything they would do after this. It's just it's an oddball track. It's my least favorite song on the album, but I like it, but it's an oddball. It's like, and I know Easy Ride. I'm like, every time I listen to the song, I'm like, well, this is a weird song. Like it's not like weird, but like for the Doors, it's weird. Like it doesn't sound like anything that they did before and after this. Maybe you guys like it more, but it's by default, it's my least favorite, but it's not to take it away. It's a fun song, but it's really strange. Like, you know, it's not like the end strange or when the music's over strange or, you know, the title track of this album strange, but it's just what they normally do. It's like, all right. It's interesting. It's an interesting song.
This is also my least favorite song on the album. It's very whimsical, especially with the keyboard sound that Ray is using here. I'm not going to say that I hate it. It's kind of a shorter song, so it doesn't really outstay its welcome, and it's not going to affect the score of my album any. But I just feel like every time I get to this song, it's just like, oh, that was kind of fun with the the whimsical keyboard. But I'm ready to get to side two because that's where all the a lot of the really good stuff is on the second side.
Yeah, this one's all right. I like the vibe and the production on this album or on this song. It's not my favorite on this album. I like it a lot better than the last song. I think it's a good vibe when you listen to it. I can't really tell you the words of this song talking about it, but I think it's an all right song. Now we flip the record over onto the second side, and we start off with, look at here, Wild Child.
Yeah, I like this one. It's a really good one. It's like it starts off with the heavy guitar. Like it almost has like a metal sound to it, like something that Sabbath would do before Sabbath was a thing. It's just cool. It's like really cool song. It's like it's not technically amazing or anything, but it's just I'm gonna be honest, like all four of these songs on side two are in my top five. I really like side two. Side two on this album it's like my favorite side in any Doors album. I really like this side. And yeah, I thought this was like a really cool kind of like jammy hard rock song that I really like.
I will agree with you there. While my favorite song on this album does come from side one, most of my favorite songs are on side two of this album. This is not going to be in the top five, but still very strong contender for being an honorable mention. I love the heaviness of this. This is probably the heaviest song on the album, and it's more of that just good jamming. You get the keyboard, the guitar, the bass, something you can just jam out to for a little bit. And I think it's funny how the song just ends with, "Say, remember when we went to Africa?" I'm like, okay, that's a weird way to end this song, but I guess that's funny.
Yeah, this one's just pretty meh, in my opinion. I love the production on it, but I think out of all the songs on this album, this one just felt like this was the most phoned in out of Jim Morrison. Like, just the way he sings the song just kind of rubbed me off the wrong way. It just didn't seem like he was fully there when I was listening to it. It's good production though. The last line is pretty memorable, even though it doesn't really make sense and it ends on a weird note. But it's not my favorite. All right, now we go to the next song on the album. I'm curious what everybody's thoughts on this one. Running Blue.
This is one of my favorite songs on the album. And this is actually based on a true story because, as you know, Otis Redding did pass away around this time, and Robbie Krieger wrote about that. I believe they were supposed to play where he was playing, but then he passed away, so he wrote the song for him. And this is a fun song. I love the acapella section in the "For Otis dead and gone, ba, 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 ba. Pretty little girl with a red hair on. Poor Otis Redding dead and gone. Bum, bum, ba-da-da, bum, 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 bum." I love when they reference Dock in the Bay. Like the Dock in the Bay. But one thing I love about this song is Robbie Krieger. He surprisingly does a good job on vocals. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say he would be the best lead vocalist, but for the song, it works. Hey now, look at my shoes. Not quite the running blues. Don't fight too much to lose. It's the running blue. It's fun. It's a fun song, and I'm gonna spoil it. That's like top 3 on the album for me. I really enjoy it.
So apparently this is one of the most maligned songs in the Doors discography, and I do not get that at all. This song is fun, and it is 100% in my top 5. I love it so much. I love that it's a tribute to Otis Redding, who had died recently. I love the beginning where he sings the poor Otis dead and gone. And then they come in with the instruments. Do, 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 do. And then Jim Morrison has a really good verse where it's like, I got to find the dock of the bay. And then, I'm sorry, if people think it's cheesy, they can think whatever. But I love whenever Robbie Krieger comes in and does the chorus. We were talking about multi-genre songs. Here's another one. The verses are very soul sounding to tribute Otis Redding. And then the chorus with Robbie Krieger sings is like a country, like Turkey in the Straw kind of thing with fiddle and banjo. It's like, all right, look at my shoes. I ain't the walking blues. And I'm just like, this is the door. These are the same people that made The End. Like, so they can have fun. Everything doesn't have to be so serious. I'm a poet, I'm an artist, or whatever. This is them having fun. And I like that about this album, and I like that about this song. They get to have fun with this one and make a tribute to Otis Redding. This is a fantastic song, and it is in my top 5.
All right, I didn't realize this was a hated Doors song. This is one of my favorites on the album as well. This one is in my top 3. I will say that right now. I thought it was cool that they did a song in respect to Otis Redding. Otis Redding's an excellent vocalist. Great songs. I love the reference to Dock of the Bay. But I think the thing I love about this song the most is like the multi-genre thing that we've been talking about throughout this whole album. Like, you have this cool acapella section that opens the song. I think it's very soulful where it has that Otis Redding feel. I love hearing all the brass on this song in particular. And then the other guy, Ray, sings the chorus, and there's like that country part to it. I kid you not, the first time I listened, I'm like, that doesn't sound like Jim Morrison. Who the heck is this guy? I didn't realize until after. I'm like, oh, this is the Krieger guy singing. And I can't say he's as good of a vocalist as Jim Morrison, but he fit the style of that part of the song very well. And I like that little country vibe that it does have in the chorus. I love how fun it is. The production, even the goofy vocals, I think adds to the charm of it all. Yeah, this is one of the best Doors discoveries. Some of the songs on this album in particular, like this song and Tell All the People, this is one of the highlights on the album. I agree. And now we go to another song on the album, Wishful Sinful, the second to last song.
I love this song. To me, this is my favorite song on the album. This is definitely their most. I mean, if there was no Touch Me at all, this definitely would have been a great like hit single for them. Like, this has a hit single to it, sound to it, with the horns, and it's so cool. Like, it's like boom, 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 wishful. Crystal, boom, 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 cooling water. It has like a grandness to it that like I feel like if Touch Me wasn't on this album, like this would have been like a huge single for them, because it's not like intricate like a lot of their other songs, but it kind of has it's kind of like Hello, I Love You and Touch Me, where it's like it has like that kind of that Doors hit song sound to it, but it's only a deep cut, and I think it's definitely the most underrated on the album as well. I really enjoy it.
I'm going to echo that exact sentiment. This is the most underrated song on the album. More people need to be talking about this song. This has hit Doors song written all over it. I will say this is probably the best ballad that they've ever done, as somebody who's listened to all of the Morrison albums anyways. I think the melody is really good, and yes, the best thing about this is that string section that comes in, especially whenever it gets to the chorus. Dum, 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 dum. And the string section comes in, and it's just like, wow, like, These guys are showing a completely different side of themselves on this album, and I am all for it. This is such a cool sound here, using this orchestra, and every time I hear this song, I'm just like, wow, that is a very well written song, and the production on this is spectacular. And I'm like, I wonder what the next song could be. Where are they going with this? And we'll see what we think of the next song in just a minute.
So, fun fact: "Wishful Sinful" was released as a single, but it didn't really do that well. It only reached 44,
Oh,
not 100.
crime of the
Uh,
century.
yeah, the only big single on the album was "Touch Me," but I'm looking at it. 4 of the songs were singles. The other ones were "Wishful Sinful," "Tell All the People," and even "Running Blue" was released as single.
Those all should have done very well. I'm
Yeah.
disappointed, record buyers. You should do better than that.
Yeah. Well, this was not a well received album at the time. So people probably heard these songs on the radio. It's like, what is this? I ain't buying this record. This is weird. But I think if there was a single on this album that should have done better commercially, it's this song. I do agree with that. Because it's another love ballad. I love the way Jim Morrison sings it. There's some soul in his voice that's really good on it. Again, having that crooner comparison. But I think the thing I love about this song is the production. The stringed instruments on it is really good. It almost has a wall of sound vibe. And I'm a sucker for that sound, especially in some of these 60s albums that we listen to from different artists. Yeah, this one's in my top 5. It's a very underrated Doors song. All right, I'm curious what we're gonna think about this last song. This is definitely the most out there song on the album, and like with most of these Doors albums, they saved the weirdest one for last. The title track, "The Soft Parade."
Yeah, this is a terrific album closer. It's definitely the most Door sounding song of all the 9 Door songs on this album. I mean, you open the album the song up with Jim Morrison yelling at you. When I was back there in seminary school, I was taught the proposition that you petition the Lord with prayer. Petition the Lord with prayer. No, I'm gonna petition the Lord with prayer. I'm like, oh, when I first heard that, I'm like, what in the actual hell did I just listen to? Like, it's just, I was like, what? What? Like, keep in mind, I heard when the music's over and the end, I'm like, I thought I heard it all. I did not think I would be listening to Morrison preach at me. That was the last thing I expected from Morrison, but here we are talking about it. Then we get to the next part of it where it's kind of like a softer sounding song, which is nice. Like, okay, this is nice. This is cool. I think it's all weird. It's like bicycles. Bah, 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 bah. Like, that's weird. Cool, but weird. And then we get to the main part. I love the part where it's like, this is the best part of the trip. This is the trip that's the best, or something like that. I'm like, they were definitely high off their minds making this. Like, I feel like the first 8 songs they were like sober, and then like the 9th song they're like, okay, let's get high. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool song, and I love the chorus. Welcome to the Soft Parade. Like, it's the last song on the album. You're welcoming me to something that's gonna be over. Sounds about right for the Doors. Anyways, it was of all of their, like, I'm not gonna count Riders of the Storm because that's like they're most straight up of the longer songs, but of their 3 like longer, more experimental songs, this is definitely the best of the 3.
I agree with that. I'm pretty sure that this song is supposed to be about the apocalypse. So the beginning, I think, is him doing an impression of one of those like old school pastors who gets really passionate, basically kind of warning people like there's no turning back now, judgment's coming. And then you get like him singing in a soft voice, like, is there anywhere to hide or whatever? And then there's like quiet keyboard behind that. You're like, where is this song going? And then it turns into, and this is 10 years too early, but it sounds like a disco song 10 years before disco was even a big thing. It goes like do 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 do, and he's like bow do 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 do, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then it goes to like this whimsical little thing with the harpsichords, like do 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 do, and it was like that. This is just whiplash. This is all over the place. And then they get into like a little slower jam with like the bass and the drums, and he's like, this is the best part of the trip. I'm like, I literally have no idea where this song is heading next. And then it kind of gets into the main part of the song with the welcome to the soft parade. And then the very end is the weirdest part, where you get some kind of weird poetry. It's like, we have to whip the horse's eye. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, but okay. And then every time I get done with this song, I'm like, as odd as it was, I feel like this is the best of their weirder, longer, and more experimental songs, just because it's like, I was genuinely invested in this song the whole time, because I like kept guessing where it was going to go, and the fact that they just switched it up so many times was just very groundbreaking, and I thought it was really cool. So I might like this song more than anybody else, might be the same as Nick. But this is actually one of my favorite songs on the album just because of how creative it is.
All right. So historically, I've not been the biggest fan of these like extended Doors tracks. You had the end, when the music's over, not to touch the earth. And now this song. And my thoughts on this one, much like the other ones, it's complicated. Musically, there's some cool stuff on here. I love the acoustic opening. Again, almost has like a Baroque sound to it, which is pretty cool. Then it like cuts into this pre-disco part. I'm like, if this is the rest of the song, I would be down with this. But then once the song stuck to its groove with like the soft parade stuff, I was bored to tears with this song. I'm like, you had that cool disco part. Why couldn't you just stuck to that? And yeah, the spoken part at the beginning where he's like playing a mock preacher, I think is very cringe. I didn't care for that. I don't like the then he does that little horse thing at the end. I'm like, this reminds me of that like a minute and a half spoken word section they did on Strange Days, because wasn't that about horses too?
Oh, yes.
I'm like, it just drew me back to that one. I'm like, no. As far as these extended songs, I can't say which one I think is the least bad. It might be this one or When the Music's Over. I can't tell you which one I like better. I still don't really care for it. It's one where like I respect certain sections of it, but the song is just so all over the place that I just don't care for it. It's another one of those weird and pretentious Doors songs. Now we go to the album's done. What are your guys' top 5?
I actually have a
Okay.
top 5 list made this time.
Number 5, I'm going to go with Wild Child. Number 4, I'm going to go with Sherman's Blues. Number 3, I'm going to go with The Soft Parade. Number 2, Running Blue. And number 1, Wishful Sinful.
Number 5, Running Blue. Number 4, Tell All the People. Number 3, The Soft Parade. Number 2, Wishful Sinful. And number 1, dun, 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 dun. Come on now, touch me, babe. Ba-dum, ba-dum.
Yeah. Well, I'll say now, I'm the only one that doesn't have The Soft Parade in my top 5. That's my pick for the worst song on the album.
All right.
But my
Yeah.
top five: number 5, Shaman's Blues. Number 4, Wishful Sinful. Number 3, Tell All the People. Number 2, Touch Me. Number 1, Running Blue.
Wow.
That one shocked me on how good that was.
I'm glad we all have that in our top 5.
Yeah, me too. Same way.
All right. So, what are we going to score this album?
All right. So I'm going to be giving this a 10 out of 10.
Okay, what do I think about this album? What am I going to give this as a score? For all the other Doors albums, I've given like 9 or 9.5. So what am I going to do with this one? Because this is definitely my favorite one we reviewed so far. Perhaps it's just despite the critics, but last time I listened to this, I'm like, this is so much better than I remember it. I'm actually going to give it the 10.
Okay. Oh. Bear with me a second. I'm trying to get all my scores together. Having some technical difficulties here.
Ooh, that's all right. Dun, 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 dun.
Okay. Let me get that down.
No, 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 no. Dun, 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 dun.
Okay. As for me, definitely not getting a 10. I really didn't like the last song. This kind of hurts my score. I still like the last album a little more than this album, but I do like the overall sound of it, and there's still some really good stuff on it. Right now, I'm going to give it an 8. It's not it's a solid Doors album. Like, I love the production on it. I think the only songs I would say I really love are my top 5. The rest of the songs are either okay to weird, pretentious Doors that I can't stand. So an 8 out of 10 is still really good, I guess, in my book. But we'll see. We'll see if we can see if I can get to a 10 with some of these later Doors albums. I guess we'll see. Now, as far as the average, since 2 of you guys gave this a 10, it went up to 9.333.
Let's round
Actually,
that to 9.5.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna. I was gonna have it at 9.25, but that would have it tied with our average for the last album, Waiting for the Sun. So I'm gonna switch it real fast to a 9.5. Bear with me a second. 9.5 is our average score for Waiting for the Sun.
Awesome.
And much
All
like
right.
Sheer Heart Attack, the title track to Waiting for the Sun is not found until the next album.
That's crazy. But speaking of the next album, that's the next one we'll be reviewing on the Doors series. That being, we're taking a little trip to the Morrison Hotel.
That's going to be an album.
All right. So, any final thoughts before we finish up the stream?
Well, we're after this excitement of an album, we're going to be reviewing Morrison Serenader. That's what I'm going to call it.
Oh, that
Because it's very by the numbers.
Yeah, Roadhouse Blues is a good song, but I don't want to hear a whole album of that.
I was looking at the track listing. That's the only song I know from that album. That song is awesome. That's one of my favorite Doors songs.
Fun fact, that was actually a B-side.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, I hear that's a staple on classic rock radio.
You'll once we get to the album, you'll be surprised with what the A-side was.
Waiting for the Sun and Peace Frog are also really good songs from that album too.
They got like the Sunday song or whatever it's called. It's also really good. bum, 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 bum. It's like Blue Sunday, I think it's called. I forgot. I don't listen to that album that much, so I don't know.
Well, we'll get to that album when we get there. Until then, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one. You guys have a good night.
Bye.
Oh man, look at my shoes, riding on to the running blue.